since it's Labor Day, I figured that we could both find out what Labor Day is actually about. If you think about some of these holidays just, everybody is enjoying them because you get your day off. But like what, some of them have some kind of funny backgrounds to them. And most times we don't even know what we're celebrating. We just happy to have a day off, honestly. So if you Google Labor Day, it says that it's observed the first Monday in September. Labor Day is an annual celebration of the social and economic achievements of American workers. I mean, whatever that means. Most people today, I'm not sure they want to celebrate their labor. Most people are kind of stuck in like a 9-to-5 loop. So the celebration is probably not having to work that day. Hold on, let's go to the actual government website. It says, yeah, that's the same thing. Observed the first Monday in September, Labor Day is an annual celebration of social and economic achievements of American workers. That's the thing, right? Like us millennials, a lot of this stuff we never voted for, we never asked for. We'll take the day off, of course, but like a lot of these things that have been instituted into society, they were way before we were even born. Other people were voting this stuff in, not us. But I came across this video on YouTube, and so I figured, hey, look, I might as well we can watch it together because it's NBC. They're supposed to be explaining what the history behind Labor Day is.
Labor Day is almost here, but beyond barbecues and a final chance to wear that summer white, what is the federal holiday meant to represent, and how has the way we work changed over the years? Here's Labor Day simply explained.
Today, work looks a lot different.
How would you describe the workplace now versus, say, what it was like a few decades ago?
A buyer's market versus a seller's market.
Johnny Taylor is president and CEO of the Society of Human Resources Management.
Back in the day, employers, if you will, bought talent. And so it was very much up to the employer to determine the terms and conditions of employment. Fast forward, in a knowledge-based economy, everyone now understands that they sell their talents and their skills to organizations.
The seller, in this case, the American worker, is celebrated on Labor Day. Put simply,
Labor Day, in some ways, for many decades, was closely tied to labor unions in the United States, right? Especially.
I just want to pause it right there and say, if we are selling our talents, we're selling our skills, the price of labor is cheap now for the companies, because I don't think if it was actually real market value, then the average take home pay for their average American probably wouldn't be 40-50K. If this was a fair market value for what labor is.
Up to the 1950s, 60s.
At the time, union membership was defined by craft unions or guilds. Think skilled workers, carpenters, plumbers, and electricians.
It's very much not connected to labor unions anymore, which have declined in membership, really since the 1970s. That image of the guy in a sort of steel-toed boots and a hard hat, mostly that doesn't exist.
Today, just over 11% of American workers are in unions, down from a high of over 30% in the 1950s. So how did we all end up getting the day off?
The thing about unions is that there was a big decline, but now they seem like they're making a comeback, because there's a lot of workers that they really don't have any leverage to negotiate with these larger companies. So there has to be a middleman. I mean, I don't think you can unionize every industry, but I think unions can definitely be helpful for those that have any leverage other than being collective, a collective talent pool for whatever industry that is, and having someone that can step in and mediate for them on their behalf. Because if not, then they're going to have to take whatever wages the companies decide to give them. So, but I think they're really starting to come back a lot more in some of the more trade areas of work. That could be a good thing.
Quick history lesson.
Labor Day officially became a national holiday in 1894 in legislation signed by then President Grover Cleveland. Now, there's some dispute over which labor leader first proposed the idea to kind of strike one day a year. And then some state governments over the course of the 1880s started recognizing this as Labor Day.
But the way we work has drastically changed. According to Pew Research Center, today, 14% of employees are fully remote. That's compared to 5.7% who worked from home in 2019 prior to the COVID pandemic. And the length of time spent in careers is changing too. Workers under 34 years old are on average switching careers every 1.3 years. That's compared to older employees switching every 4.9 years.
One thing the pandemic definitely did was show people that a lot of jobs can be done at home. And it said 14% of people are working remotely. And it feels like that there's a large pool of people that are trying to get remote work, but there's only like a few work from home jobs. And there are certain jobs that can't even be done from home. So, if you're in that industry, you're just kind of accepted the fact that you're going to be going in 5 days a week for however many hours, or even if you do 4 10s or whatever. I mean, if I was doing something like that, I would absolutely look for 4 10s to get that extra day off. But the job market is slowly shifting, but I think hybrid to remote is going to start to become the future because of the way that things are advancing so quickly in the internet space, and just with broadband itself. I think that is an open avenue that is going to be, it's going to take some growing pains, but over time, I think companies are going to start to realize how much money they actually are going to save by not renting out these commercial buildings and these other entities that they use, so that they can have, basically butts and seats. So why not save that money and invest it back into your employees? I mean, it just makes more sense. But, whenever there's something new or something, an emerging technology, an emerging effort, something that breaks tradition and is not accustomed, there's always going to be a bunch of pushback in the beginning, and there's going to be some rust spots in the beginning. And I think that's where we're at because it's in such early stages. You go back 20, 30 years ago, there were very, very, very few remote workers, and most people didn't even think of the concept of actually working from home as something that is actually valid or legit or ever even going to happen.
Why have we seen these changes?
Number one would be demographics. American birth rate's been on a decline.
Translation, fewer workers and more demand.
The second and perhaps most important reason is just the nature of business in a knowledge-based economy.
And then there was COVID. The nation reached a 20-year high quit rate following the pandemic.
The organizations who are going to win are the ones who get the right people and keep those people, keep them motivated. And so employers have to be far more focused now on how we treat our employees.
And that's Labor Day simply explained.
Yeah, so I mean, when they're talking about how they treat workers, I think that's a very key point. There's so many videos online about how workers are being treated and how they, the average person is not like trying to be a millionaire. They just want to be paid their fair value, and that's where the gap comes, because there's a value that the company sets for a specific skill set or specific position, and then there's a value that you set for yourself, and sometimes that can be very far apart. But at the end of the day, no company can run without employees. well, very few can run without employees. And if you don't have employees, you are the employee. So that's the thing with companies. But then also, people need companies to provide a means of an income for most people. Because let's face it, most people are not the entrepreneur type. And actually, if you talk about entrepreneurs, a lot of time entrepreneurs end up working more than if you just had a regular 9-to-5 job, because as an entrepreneur, you're going out to get your own. You have to take the accountability for your business at all times. It doesn't matter. Like, there is no set schedule for you. So if, say, you're in real estate and somebody wants to close a deal and it's on the weekend, you got to go and close that deal. Or, there's a lot of times where there's no weekends and holidays and all that stuff that the regular worker has gotten accustomed to. So most people aren't cut out to be entrepreneurs. And, a lot of people, this is the thing with being an entrepreneur, right? And I don't want to go off on a rant, but because I want to keep this focused on Labor Day. But the thing about being an entrepreneur is that, like, a lot of people will own a business just to say that they are an entrepreneur, but the business isn't even profitable. So it's probably benefiting you more to go back to working in a job or a 9-to-5 until you figure out, how you can make a business that's profitable. So, that's another thing. But on the top of this Labor Day, I mean, like everybody else, I'll take the day off. I'm not even sure what we're actually celebrating here. I guess, you can, I'll leave that up to you. You can put something in the comments, but just celebrating the labor movement is kind of a little strange because not a lot of people are very happy with the labor. So whatever we're celebrating, it definitely came before any millennials or Gen Zs hit the market, because the last thing I think they want to do is celebrate their labor. So, but it was fun just looking into it and see what it's actually about, and some of the history of it. But like I said, we're millennials. A lot of Gen Zers, we ain't picked none of this stuff. We never got a ballot that said, do you think this should be holiday? None of this stuff. We didn't vote none of this stuff in. None of these, the typical 9-to-5, you work Monday through Friday, 2 days off. We didn't vote none of this stuff in. We're just been thrust into it. And so now they're telling us that, hey, it's Labor Day, so you get a day off. So that's all we see. But I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.